opium and common sense collide. Starring the CryptoKeeper and BlockchainCrusader. Welcome to Debate Crypto. Crypto fam, it's your boy CryptoKeeper, and we've got tonight another special edition of TA Thursday with your boy CVO Crypto. Paul, how you doing tonight, bro?
Good, man. How are you?
Good. Excited to get it on this evening. Hey, Crypto fam, we have got Miguelito. We have the BlockchainCrusader, Miguel. He will be here in just a few minutes, so just take a deep breath. I know you guys are stressing about that, but don't. He will be here shortly. So before we get started, guys, reminder, make sure that you're subscribed. We're giving away $500 December 23rd. That's 2 days before Christmas. Somebody needs an early Christmas present. Paul, I know you're subscribed, but I just want to let you know if you do win, it probably I got to give it to somebody else. So I know you were
I'll donate it
and thinking that was going to happen, but probably not going to play out like that. But yeah, and then obviously, guys, smash the likes. We always appreciate that. It tells YouTube that you love us and we love you. So at any event, without further ado, Paul, why don't you jump in? Can you give us a market watch, kind of an overview of what's going on in the overall market before we dump in? Yeah, everything's been dumping before we dive into a little deeper into some particular topics.
Man, we can dump in. It's DUMPcember. It was Dump November. It's DUMPcember. It's going to be Dumpuary for both January and February. You know, it's just it's dump time. But yeah, we'll take a peek.
Dump.
I hit to share my screen. I don't know if it is sharing or not.
Oh, yep, got you. There you go. My bad.
As far as the market watch goes, we're chilling, man. You know, we're sitting at, still under 50K, which is awesome. And, right above $4,000 ETH, pretty much just a sea of red all across the board. Little green, just for festivities as far as Christmas goes. But mostly just a sheer bloodbath still going forward. So all in all, really terrible for most people's portfolios. And, really looking forward to any, pulses in the market at all.
Well, let me ask you something as it relates to that. So, we talked about Bitcoin's below 50. That's freaking terrible. But one of the things that I've noticed is that my girl, ETH, has actually been like holding strong, bro. Like, am I wrong?
Man.
She's holding strong, right?
That's it. Yeah. So, and that's kind of like the big rhetoric right now too, is that, ETH has been holding. I think that everybody's kind of focused on altcoin season coming up here pretty soon. One thing about me, and I think you do the same. We've kind of gone back and forth on a lot of things here and there. And it's just kind of like thinking different, right? Like kind of like thinking outside of where the herd mentality is. And aside from getting, even myself, man, I'm not gonna lie, I got wrapped up in granted originally the end of the year $200,000 $100,000 Bitcoin, that really wasn't a huge accepted thing for a while until about October, and then it kind of became everybody's deal. But essentially, around 69K Bitcoin, everybody was kind of anybody and everything was telling you to buy, blah blah blah. We obviously see how that ended up, and then now we've got like to a point where everything and everyone is kind of almost telling everybody to sell, thinking that, we're in bear market territory and whatever's going down, or the alternate versus that we're about to have an epic alt season, which could definitely occur depending. But
man, the alt season, Paul, would scare the heck out of me. I'll tell you why. And I've talked to people about this. Like May, I 100% was not razzled, not frazzled, not dazzled, not nothing. It was like, hey, buy the dip. But because of how this happened and how nobody really seems to have been right, it would scare me to death to have an alt season right now. And you know why? Because it would literally say, hey, this is what should have happened from the top to now in line with, and it would make sense that we were in a bear market and this was the blow off top. This was the alt season, right?
All I'm hearing is panic selling from Nick here.
So what's great? What's up, buddy? What's great? What's epic about this, right, is that for weeks and weeks, what did even we were looking like everything I was showing you and we were talking about was, leading up towards 100K, 200K, whatever. But what was the first stop that we talked about multiple times? And what was the number one thing that I said was going to be the most confusing time frame? And also mentioned that it was this, except for it was about $10,000 difference, right? Because we were looking for 80K, 87K to be like that level we get to, and we get a nasty pullback. And who did I say was going to look like a champion for a few weeks? Blockchain backer, right? Because this guy came up like this was, been circulating forever, not even just
he's called the bear market right now.
He did. Yep. And, it obviously came a little bit sooner than expected, which obviously the market does that to you, right? So it's very interesting that you say that, if we get an altcoin season right now, it's going to make you worry, because that was the next thing that we talked about, was that you get this huge confusing portion where somebody somewhere is going to start calling bear markets. You're going to get this epic altcoin season, right, where everybody's going to probably sell early, right? Like that was the idea. Which, whatever, if you're in profit and if it's best for you, if your risk management calls for that, if you can't risk, holding into whatever, then that's you. But this is exactly what we discussed, except for it just happened earlier, which is also exactly what the market does to us all the time. So
yeah, again, Miguel likes to bust my balls. I haven't sold anything. I've actually bought more, but
just shaking in his boots. He's going to sleep like, oh my God.
Listen, you guys subscribe to us for honesty, right? And transparency. So you're getting it from me, right? I am telling you, I am uneasy about what's been going on. And generally I have ice water running in my veins. And right now I don't. Like I would be actively lying to you if I told you that I was kicked back and comfortable with the fact that I've been buying more right now, because I ultimately have this little thought in the back of my head that says, man, I could really be wrong right now. And so, yeah, I think it's going to be really interesting. I hope I'm not. I hope that ultimately we run here, right? I hope that we're not in a bear market at this point. But
there's no chance. No chance.
So let me ask you.
This is why I bring CVO on the show.
No chance.
This is why.
So why? Okay, so you say no chance, like no chance. Why, tell me this. Why do we have to have a blow off top? Because ultimately, is that what you're getting at? You're saying that it just doesn't look like what it's looked like before?
No, I mean, we don't have to have a blow off top, but it just in general, right? Like when we look, even like I said, I'll be the first one to admit that, I try very, very hard to not get wrapped up in, the herd mentality, right? Mm-hmm. Definitely always try to be, be thinking different, whatever. And like I said, the idea of the end of the year, whether it's blow off top or not, but just the end of the year being the end of the 4-year cycle, blah, 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 somewhat was adopted for a while. But for the most part, up until October, it really wasn't, right? Like that was not like the, like 200,000, blah, blah, blah. Like a lot of people fell into that idea very late, right? So, and it was like right at 69K or 65K or whatever that was, right? For the most part, you were already either holding or you were buying in, whether it was Bitcoin or altcoins at that position, because you assumed that, the market was going to continue and you just had to hold on until January and then, you'd be rich.
Right.
So not like taking a step back and looking at this right now, you just think of where we were just a few weeks, a month ago, I guess, in December, November 9th, you had, I'm not even going to have to pull up a chart, but you had, massive bearish divergences all over the place, which could have lasted longer for sure. And that's even, I anticipated that to last through till 75, 85K. Like I really was anticipating seeing 80K, 85, 87 in that range before we got this nasty pullback. You had funding rates, right? So that meaning that everybody was over leveraged in long positions because everybody was super confident the market was going to continue higher.
Yep.
And you had multitude of other things going against it at the same time. On top of that, you had all the news coming out, right? Getting everybody really invested in whatever. You had the fear and greed index, right? In extreme greed, all levels that could have went a little more, right? Not saying that it's like it's unheard of to just, as soon as we get into those levels, you just turn around. But when we were at 69K, that's where we were as a market. So now, being where we are now, you get this huge pullback, right? Because everybody basically just got the rug pulled on them for the most part. And where we are now, that we're exactly the opposite, right? So you are in extreme fear all over the place. Yep. You have all these negative news catalysts,
which is generally really good. Exactly.
So like, that's what I mean. Like there's just no chance that we're in a bear market, in my opinion. On top of like other, like without the blow off top, like don't even, I'm not even going to consider that, but just the idea frame that we are going to see 70 to 80% pullback within Bitcoin, even if we say 60. We have never seen the previous all-time high get reclaimed. So if we were to fall 60, 70% from right now, you'd be pushing 10K, 12K, 15K, whatever the case may be, if 69K was the top. So that all those things wrapped up is kind of where I see, that kind of coming into fruition. And then, like I said, the one other, just idea that we've been talking about was that this was going to be the most confusing time ever, like ever. And people would sell early because you'd be fearful, right? So right now, I think the going idea, no matter what, is that we're going to at least see a rally out of Bitcoin towards 60, 55, 56, 53, 61, whatever the case may be. Altcoins would explode for the next few weeks, which they probably will do decent, right? Not as well as people really anticipate, in the next few weeks. And then people would sell out early. And then what was the one thing we said would happen after that? Everything would continue exponentially higher, right? And then you run into next year now at this point. So now we run into this lengthening cycle idea, which to me is the most dangerous thing, because now we're entering a position where there is the sky's the limit, really, right? Like at the end of the day. So I think the market is going to absolutely continue longer, continue further, continue higher. And it's just going to be there's going to be a lot of people that cut their losses now, or at break even, or at a little bit of profit, which once again, do what you got to do, whatever's best for you at this point. Like, it is what it is, right? So you're risking it for the biscuits, so to speak. But yeah, that to me, that's where I, foresee the market going and heading. And we literally talked about this exact situation, just $10,000 higher than where we basically hit earlier. So it's very interesting to see like it all kind of unfolding at this point.
Yeah. So do you think we're going into an extended cycle, or you think the cycle's still exactly the same, maybe just like a few weeks delayed?
I'm not going to get wrapped up in the timelines anymore. Like, like that was the thing, right? So like,
but just your personal opinion, like outside of, not telling anybody in your group or anything, just
I've racked my brain around this, right? Because I think that everybody gets really wrapped up in either the one or the other. And I'm not one of those people that I'm not willing to change the idea, but I don't want to get caught up in the false, the false idea of like this time is different in a sense, right? So you got to there's a fine line, I think. But when we talk about the halving cycles, right? And, let's just say 4 years to date, I guess, right? You got 4 year cycles, blah, blah, you got halvings and da, da, da. Well, the one thing that really breaks that idea to me is that the last Bitcoin is going to be mined over 40 years, right? In theory, right? That's the idea behind that right now. So like, what would right now we're basing all this off of like every 4 years the reward gets cut in half, and that's what constitutes and institutes these huge runs, which is fine. The extending cycle theory obviously goes on a multitude of other ideas as well. So I guess yes, in between that I could get behind somewhat being longer than 4 years. In that sense. So, but it's once again, I'm paying more attention to targets than anything. So, and Ethereum is one big, target base for me, specifically for altcoins. Bitcoin, I still see hitting some of these targets that I had. Maybe it's not 200, 250, but 120, 110. I could see those coming into fruition. So, regardless, I'm not going to put a timeline on it, but yeah, I could see the market still reaching some of these levels.
Yeah. Before we get into that question, I just wanted to shoot back at what Paul was saying. So I do believe, and I was discussing it with Nick yesterday on What If Wednesday, about the Bitcoin halving losing its effect as a catalyst, right? We've had big events with the Bitcoin halving because we had big drastic drops, but the majority of the circulating supply of Bitcoin is already out. There's only a very small amount in regards left for the miners, and that halving event won't really create a big shock supply to Bitcoin anymore, because at the end of the day, Bitcoin is fractional, right? So all the Bitcoin that's floating around right now can be broken down into small fractions, especially as it gains more and more value within the next 8 years before 2030. So I definitely think that the cycles shifting because the Bitcoin halving event is losing its catalyst, its potential, its big effect on the market, could be a big sign that the markets are shifting, whether they're extended by an elaborate amount of time, or they're just delayed by a few weeks here and there, right? Because you would technically say it's an extended cycle if we have a blow off top in let's say end of January, February for Bitcoin.
Right. I think people get too caught up in, and this is exactly what it sounded like you were starting to say, Paul. People get too caught up in one of two things. They get caught up in the timeline, or they get caught up in the price. And you want to know the crazy thing is that you could have the price point on, but the timeline off, and people will chastise you for it. You could have the timeline right and the price point off, and people will chastise you for it. So one of the things that I literally, it's one of the things that I look at and just kind of shake my head, because the reality is, I would hope that everyone knows that all of YouTube, all of these, anybody that's talking about crypto is speculating, right? We might do a whole lot of diving into stuff. We might do a whole lot of studying. Paul might dive into the charts like a freaking savage, but the reality is there's just things that happen that cannot be, like Miguel said, you've got whale activity that you cannot account for, right? You and I can't account for it. Maybe those dinner parties that we've talked about can account for it, because we know those happen. But let me ask you this, Paul, do you see, because I feel like for whatever reason, I don't even have any factual information behind this. Well, I guess two-part question. First of all, do you see us going back into a real deal bear market? And the second part is, if so, let's just use Bitcoin. How low do you see, let's use Bitcoin and ETH. Do you see us going into a real bear market again? And how low do you see Bitcoin and ETH, just kind of as a ballpark?
From right, like if assuming that we started at 69K was the top?
Well, no. I more want, let's go on the assumption that just whatever you kind of think is going to happen with the market. What do you think, that we're going to have another bear market? Whether it happens now, whether it happens down the road, like a real deal bear market like they've been before. And then what do you think those price points will look like? Are you just going to say, hey, depending on where that top was, it's still thinking 70, 80% down?
I mean, the 200 weekly simple moving averages proved to be a really strong support level for any bottom for Bitcoin in so far in its history. So, I mean, I would assume that at least that would probably be it. And right now, I'll share my screen, I guess. Like if we were to go into a bear market today, then you'd be looking at, I think it's $20,000 right now, right? So you go to Bitcoin, right? And you're going to go to your weekly time frame. So go to the week. And what I'll show you here, turn on simple moving averages, SMA, and 200 is going to be one of those. That's when you get in there. That's this yellow line right here. So I'll clear this up a little bit. But you can see here, right? 2013, that was pretty much our bottom zone right there. Catches the bottom over here in 2018, 2019. We pierced a little below that during the 2020 crash, but essentially that's where we found pretty major support there. So in theory, I guess you could say, with a 35% buffer from that exact level, this is where we are right now. Right now, that's about $18,000. Let's say you drop 30%. If we just completely melted down from this moment exactly. On top of this, though, mind you, this is a weekly average. So if we continue moving, this is going to continue higher. So regardless, to come down and like cleanly bounce off of it like we did here and like we did here over time, that would be at this moment 18,000.
Yeah.
And then let's just say, whatever, 6 months from now or something, it'd probably be at 23, 24, 25. So, I mean, to me, that'd be where we would go down to, and that necessarily wouldn't be a 60 or, well, let's see, I don't think that's an 80%.
So you see it. I mean, no matter what these numbers look like, do you see the ability for us to get back into the 20s? Because I look at that and I say, my God, that would be a welcomed thing to see. Assuming obviously that we had an all out real bear market again? And that's where kind of the second part of that question comes in. Do you think that that's there?
So first off, just to be very, very clear, I don't think we're in a bear market at all, man. I think that 100% we're in a position where we are in, massive pullback territory where everybody's going to be calling bear market. So every time, right? It's a premature bear market calls every step of the way. And when those people start to turn around and the naysayers become like, oh, you know what, maybe this isn't it, blah, blah, blah. I mean, that goes to the stock market too. Then that's when you really have to worry. But right now, I would really venture to say we're not in a bear market, dude. 100%.
Yeah, people are very quick to jump into bear market territory just to follow the trend, right? We saw that back in May when things dropped. Oh, that's it. We're having an early bear market.
But you know what I think it is, though, Miguel? I don't think it's that as much as it is they don't like seeing us unsure, right? So think about it. They're jumping onto all these streams. You've got BitBoy, who let's face it, right? He is very confident about anything that he says, and you have him saying, "Listen, guys, like we just don't know." They're hearing that from me,
and that's fine.
From you know what I mean. They're hearing it from so many places now. It's like, well, wait a minute. If they're not sure now, what's going on?
The thing is, it's not about these people that quickly flip into calling the bear market. They're doing this because they want to say and point back like, hey, look, I was the first one that said this. I called it. Yeah. Come follow me. I know more than everybody else because I did this and that, right? Yeah. There is the same way that the guy that called the what's his name, Michael, whatever, the guy that called the 2008 collapse.
Yeah, Michael Burry.
That guy is a perma bear. All he talks about is, hey, this is gonna die tomorrow. This is gonna die tomorrow. Eventually, he'll be right, and then he'll say, "Remember, I was right back in 2008, so I'm gonna be right about." But he's been wrong this whole past 10 years, right? Yeah. And so it's the same kind of concept where content creators like to flip one way or the other real quick, just to say, instead of just being honest, saying, "Hey, look, we're in a moment of not really knowing. This could happen." Or that could happen. They like to jump one side quickly because it's a 50-50 chance that they might be right. And if they are, they're going to point back at it forever and say, I was right. Look at me. So extend the cycle?
The transition right there was flawless.
I'm going to answer, and because I see a lot of people in the comments are like, this is so frustrating. Nobody wants to give a straight answer. I'll go ahead and say it. It's probably going to be an extending cycle, right? Like that probably is going to be where we're landing. And once again, like, now that we got to the point where I went on, like you said, BitBoy, I went on around the blockchain, and we were talking about that at one time. And I was like, there was two first targets, right, for this entire bull run. One of them was September, right? And I think BitBoy was pretty much the main leader of that idea set, where it was X amount of days from the halving, which is where we, topped the last cycle, blah, blah, blah. Yep. And that's where we landed this time. So that was in September. So that was why he was so hell-bent on September being the top. Obviously, that was not where we were. Next target essentially was December, right? Because then you kind of cycle into the 4-year cycle, and then you look at where we, you topped in 2013, you topped in 2017. Essentially, you would top in 2021. You bounced from July, both in 2015, 2017, and 2021. All the things kind of lined up to where there was multiple correlations between that and that. Well, now that we're here, and obviously we see that that's not occurring, at least to me, like based on targets, right? Like maybe at the end of the day, like whatever, possibly you could say 69K. I think it's laughable to think that was the top of the market. Like there's just, I just don't think that makes any sense other than, once again, the entire way, every pullback, 10%, 20%. I mean, this has been a big one, 40%. May was another one, right? 55%.
I don't think it was the amount for me. I don't think it's the amount for me, though. It might be for some other people. I don't think it's the amount. It's the timing. I literally, it's not you, it's me, right? I don't think it's the amount. It's the timing of when it happened with what I had in my mind where we were headed. That's what
it's what we discussed yesterday, right? You have to be adaptive to these markets because we've gotten used to like concrete 4-year cycle, parabolic blow off top December, right down to the T. And that's where the confusion comes when something slightly changes. You're like, whoa, wait a minute. This is not what I'm expecting. And that's what CVO's been saying, that they're going to try to confuse us. And what better way to confuse us, like I said yesterday, than an extended cycle, something that a few people have been talking about, but the majority do not see that happening, didn't agree it was going to happen, and now throws us into this unknown territory of like, well, how long of an extended cycle are we talking about now? We're talking about 3 months. We're talking about 6 months. We're gonna go for a whole year. Are we not gonna have a bear market at all? We're just gonna have a super cycle all the way to 2024, right? I mean, I don't think anybody's thinking that, but all these thoughts start coming into people's mind. And what if from now on we have mini bear markets just repeatedly, right? Every 3 to 4 months we have a 2-month period where it's just bear market, and then we keep going, and then we come back down another 2 months.
I think at some point we get to the point where this becomes an amped up stock market. Okay, that's what I think. At some point we get there.
I think we're there already.
So, well, see, but I don't, and I'll tell you why. Like amped up as in like on massive amounts of steroids, about to have a heart attack amped up. What I'm talking about is more of a just consistent flow with some pullbacks, flows, pullbacks, whatever, where right now we're talking about we've been in full on cycles where we're in a bull trend and then just total bear trend, where the stock market seems to still have its smaller, just more generalized movements. But I think that ultimately,
I mean, it's what, 300 years old? I mean, how old is the stock market?
Yeah.
Like it, we'll get there too. I mean, like this is the one thing I just want to point out, right? Like, it's just that we are still and I'm sharing my screen again. We're in an exponential market, right? Like, which obviously means we go exponentially up and we go exponentially down.
Yeah.
We had literally just in 1 month, 5 weeks, okay, 69% move to the upside.
Yeah, that's massive.
Superseded a 39% move to the downside, right?
Right.
So
right.
All in all, I mean, that's really not, that's not like it sucks, right? Like, don't get me wrong. You had right here an 86 move to the upside right there.
Sucks for all those paper hands.
And then boom, 23%. And then even if you just like really just looked at this as one big move right here, you had 135% up, and obviously you had a 39% move down. So I mean, it's not completely out of the order, that's not unheard of. Like, but the one thing right now is that, like you said, and once again, I'm not going to pretend
on the daily there. What are you on right there? I can't.
Yeah, this is the daily. Yeah, the thing was that everybody was anticipating, just seeing that blow off fourth quarter, right? So, and we got a good piece of that in October, and then November and December were just meltdowns, right? So just enough to trap everybody in.
So let me ask you this, Paul. We've got a lot of people that like to trade.
Hold on, Nick, real quick. So back in that chart, what I was looking at, right, it looks like a shoulder, a head. Could we be forming up a next shoulder in the next couple of months and having a huge head and shoulders on the daily?
If you want to consider that, would you consider this the same thing back here?
Ugh. I don't know about
I'm sure that's what everybody would have seen. I know this is what you're talking about right here, where this is this, and then this is the next one, blah blah blah. And
I just want to make Nick more nervous.
For those of you that don't know, a head and shoulders pattern is bearish. Okay, just so we all on the same page.
But yeah, I mean that would be coming in. But once again, like with Bitcoin, man, like that, any of those extremely super obvious patterns never play out. Never.
Oh, dude,
never. Especially on a large time frame, like because everybody they slightly do. Like, you'll see a break, and then everybody gets all excited, thinking just like we got at 29K, we broke from 30 down to 29. A bunch of people opened up short positions, and then what happens? You get the short squeeze. You know what I mean? So I mean that could definitely print, but I don't think it will, man. I really think we're ranging. I think that we're going to see a very similar move to what we saw in October, where we're going to get a big burst to the upside. So it might be next year, man. It's going to have to be next year at this point.
What everybody wants to know, Paul, is you, as someone that is a professional trader, you trade for a living, right? What everyone wants to know is, are you actively trading this market? And if so, do you have anything that you would tell people that do like to trade, that are engaging in trading, just as a generalized rule as to with how things are right now? Because I have heard a few people in particular say, you know what, like CryptoFace the other day when I was on around the blockchain with him, when we were backstage, I started asking him about some stuff as far as trading. And he was like, literally, his answer was like, bro,
he's probably not right now. Yeah,
it's choppy.
waiting.
It's choppy. That's what he said. So I guess my question is that where you're at or what?
Yeah, I don't really trade Bitcoin, right? Like okay, so there's a couple different types of traders, right? So I'm more so into with altcoins. I definitely try to stick to spot, and I do some like mid to long term holds more so for Bitcoin and Ethereum. So I took a short position on Ethereum last month or whatever, like a couple weeks back at 4,800, whatever, when I posted on Twitter, which was like
shorted your girlfriend right there, bro.
You shorted ETH. Hey,
I did short
it. Here, let me show you something, Paul. Here you go. All right, so back to it. Now that Paul's gone off the backstage, I put him back. Okay, cool.
But no, I mean, honestly, like unless you're an expert like range trader, which I mean, like you got to be, you can watch the chart like literally all day, every day for that, for like the 5 minute, 15 minute, 30 minute, 1 hour. You know, you got certain ranges, certain, you know, yearly levels, naked point of controls, all those like that's stuff that like I don't necessarily do all the time. So like I said, I'm more so in the altcoins, and dude, it's been tough. Like I've probably taken one trade maybe in the last like 2 weeks, really. Like it's ever since Bitcoin just completely melted from 53. Yeah, it's kind of a no trade zone for me. But that's okay. Like, I mean, you just kind of wait for that. The amount of opportunity that we had just last month. I mean, when we had things like Sand, AVAX, EGLD, I mean, there was so many, like 200, 300% movers, KuCoin, 200, 300% movers all over the place, left and right, 800% on Block. All those gains, you know, were opportunities a few weeks, but it's just right now, everything is susceptible to Bitcoin. Yeah. So right now, no, I mean, I'm just waiting. Everybody's kind of waiting for confirmation. Are we going lower? Are we going higher? You know,
I just want to point out that CVO doesn't short Bitcoin, but shorts Ethereum. I'm just saying, Nick. I'm just saying.
Get the hell out of here.
I'm just saying. You should be nervous, bro. You should be nervous.
Let me throw something out there that I would also say for anyone that's in the markets right now. This is the time when patience will pay off, especially if you're a trader, right? Because people have a tendency to want to force it, want to overtrade. We literally have someone in here, in Paul, that professionally trades, and he told you that he's kind of sitting on his hands a little bit right now. So that should at least tell you that maybe just take a deep breath, be okay with maybe not trading for a couple days, see what's going on in the market, and let things kind of shake out a little bit if that is what you're doing. Again, not financial advice, just throwing out there, you know.
Somebody said that Crusader needs a big gold necklace or a picture on his wall, and I agree with both of those statements.
I got some pretty good pictures coming in pretty soon, so I will be changing that up in the background.
What is this?
I'm pretty sure I was going to ask you about this. I'm pretty sure they're talking about Bitcoin whales sending Bitcoin to exchanges right now.
Yeah, so I don't have the on chain right in front of me, but I'll pull this up here in a second. There's this Telegram like alert system similar to like on Twitter. There's like whale alerts and all that.
Yeah.
First off, I want to say like whale alerts, right? I've paid close attention to those, and it's hit or miss, right? Like to me, it's kind of like, you know, they have 200, 300,000 followers, this and that, and I feel like sometimes it can be utilized as like just a
deception.
Little bit. Yeah. You know, you see whales like dropping stuff on or pulling stuff off, and you get excited thinking one way or the other, and then like 12 hours later, you know, X amount comes back on or whatever. So it's kind of like take it with a grain of salt. But there's this, you know, another alert system called Quant Crypto, I think Quant Alert, something like that. And essentially, you know, I had somebody point it out to me, and it was basically like showing how, like, you know, December 4th, we had this big pullback, this big crash from 53 to 42. Mm-hmm. And 2 days before that, basically, you could see where like slowly, like 60,000 Bitcoin ended up coming onto the market, right, onto exchanges from wallets, right? So with that being said, right, you know, it's somewhat understandable. Maybe they sold that off, whatever, and that caused the pullback. And then basically like the next day on the 4th and 5th, like basically 40, 50,000 Bitcoin got pulled off the market right after.
Yeah.
So today I noticed that yesterday and today on that same alert system, which once again has about 100,000 followers. So I've been just kind of monitoring it to see how realistic it is. There's a little discrepancy between that and like on Glassnode on-chain analytics, because I noticed that it only showed so far a bunch of inflows to exchanges again today. It usually shows outflows too, but whatever. So anyways, I noticed that it showed like 60,000 once again over the last like 48 hours. 60,000 Bitcoin got deposited is what it says, at least to X amount of exchange. And it's not just like Binance, it's not Coinbase. It's like every exchange basically spread out. So
from the same wallet? From the same wallet?
No, it's just in general, just massive amounts of like Bitcoin just hitting exchanges, getting transferred out. But on-chain,
paper hands getting scared and like seeing like what's like, because I heard that the metrics said that most of the Bitcoin that came on the market was newer. I didn't mean to cut you off. Is newer wallets that were smaller amounts of retail traders. That's what I heard.
Those are Nick's friends that he talks to offline about selling. He's getting everybody to sell.
Hilarious. Yeah. So, anyways, I brought that up to, just in general, because I looking back after that pullback to 42, I noticed that. So I just wanted to point that out again. But, to me, anyways, so that showed about 60,000 hitting the market. And then when we looked at some on-chain analytics, though, we also saw that on Glassnode, it showed that like almost 100,000 Bitcoin had came off of exchanges, but that wasn't noted on this alert system. So, like I said, a little discrepancy there. So it's kind of once again, it's kind of like one of those things. It's a little, how reliable is it? Yeah. I guess at the end of the day, but
Michael Saylor buying that dip, bro.
Yeah, I was gonna say Michael Saylor's always buying the dip.
I bet you he is
always. Hey. Always. I don't know that that's a great metric to go off of, though, because
Michael Saylor buying.
Yeah, because he ultimately, the reality is Michael Saylor is buying at every opportunity. It doesn't matter. He looks at it as an opportunity because his goal is to never ever sell Bitcoin, right? So I don't think you. So while I agree,
he's going to go in history as a better trader than Warren Buffett.
So I agree totally with what he's doing in his position. I totally agree with it. But what I'm getting at is that I don't think we can use him as a metric to know what the market's doing, because all he's doing is saying dump opportunity. We could be headed into a bear market, and he's opportunity all the way down, even knowing that we're headed into a bear market. You know what
anybody I mean? That's not a trader, that's the best way to do it. Buy, accumulate, and hold.
Yeah, anybody that has $8 billion.
The only thing I can say about
I was I don't got $8 billion, and that's what I've been doing.
Technically, that's not wrong. The only thing that reminds me of, man, is Grayscale, right? So Grayscale, I don't know when they first began, but I do remember hearing about them pretty much 2018, if anything, beginning January, right, when we hit the bear market. And all throughout the bear market, man, they were picking up, which obviously was a win 4 years later. But once again, you're talking about a billionaire hedge fund. So, I mean, for the average person that's kind of coming in, looking to build themselves up, buying from the top to the bottom is a little tough at the beginning. But
the thing is that as a new investor, you never know when the top is, right? Because even if you're new to investing to crypto, you're going to come in here, you're going to listen to us talk, you're going to listen to Bitboy, you're going to listen to all these people. You're not going to know the top is coming. You're not. Well,
as an old investor, you're not really. We don't know. I mean, we're
exactly right. So as new investors, they know even less. Right. So no matter what the price point is, let's assume we topped. We this is the top, and we're on our way down now. At some point you have to buy in, and you're just going to wait forever wait for the bottom. You're probably not going to get that bottom, right? So you're going to buy, you're going to get some pain, you're going to get dumped on, it's going to go lower, but it's part of the process as a new investor, and especially in crypto, to just buy, accumulate, hold, feel some pain, and then you eventually get that moment of bliss where things do pop off and you're making massive profits.
You, Miguel, you don't say a ton that I love anymore, but you have said something recently that I'd like to throw out there. That was a pretty intelligent thing that came out of your lips. You were talking about how a lot of these people that say, oh my gosh, I can't wait to see, give me a $10,000 Bitcoin, or that type of attitude, are the same people that when it gets down to 10 will say, oh, it's going down to 5. I got to wait longer because I don't feel good about this market. Da, da, da. Those are the people that ultimately sit on their hands and not sitting on their hands and almost never get in, right? And
Exactly.
so I want to encourage people to set up that game plan. You hear me talk about it all the time. You look at your financial situation. I'm not giving you financial advice. I'm not looking at your accounts. I'm not looking at any of that. What I'm saying is you look at your situation, you put a game plan together for yourself, you try to take the emotions out of it as much as possible, and you execute on the game plan and you don't look back. Because if you start kicking yourself, you will make emotional decisions to counteract that. And you'll end up hurting yourself. You could be in a great position. Like Paul was talking about how he believed that it was going to do 170 and then run, right? And what he was worried about was a lot of people buying back in on the run back up after having taken a bunch of profits, right? Think about it. If you've taken a bunch of profits, you're in a great position, but then you get all emotional because you're like, oh my gosh, I missed the top. It's going to be so much higher. And then you end up actually buying the top and you offset all your profits. Execute on the game plan and stick with it.
Yeah. The problem is, CVO is a great trader and, has great insight, but everybody wants to come in here to be like him. And they're not. They can't be like him, right? So Dotchin says, "Can we skip the pain part?" No, take your allergy pill and deal with it because the hives are gonna be there. You're gonna feel the pain. Being part of crypto is feeling pain. That's why the volatility is here, right? That's why we're all here for the big swings and the big dumps to buy real low. So don't try to be a trader when you just came in here and try to, skim some profits off the top and, think you're the greatest thing to investing because you were able to pull off 1 or 2 trades when everything is super bullish. You have to stick around for the long term. You're gonna have to feel some pain to be part of crypto.
Let's get Paul into something that's super, super important, right? We got to talk about my girl for a second. ETH's been holding strong.
You're shorting her, bro.
We talked about
taking that gold digger to the side.
I hear nothing.
The short is over. The short is over. Don't worry.
I hear nothing. No one shorts ETH. But at any event, we've seen ETH holding strong. Okay, can you pull the ETH chart and tell me? Are you seeing anything there right now, or is it the same chop that you're seeing with Bitcoin? It's just been holding stronger. Can you pull that up and kind of walk me through what you're seeing there right now?
Yeah, give him his sleep medicine because he can't sleep anymore. He doesn't know what's going on. He's got panic in his hands.
Oh my god,
dude! ETH is the most exciting chart to me. I will say that, right? So
there you go. You can sleep, Nick. It's most exciting because it's going down big.
No. From right here, right? This was like I said, I put this on Twitter and everything, right? I was looking for a top right here, and then a pullback to like 4,100, right? So I did a small short on this, right? Like 20%, whatever it was. Obviously, I missed out on a bigger opportunity because it shit the bed even more, but that's okay. But yeah, so ETH, unlike Bitcoin, so let's take a look at Bitcoin, right? Biddy took a nice 40% hit all in all from November 9th.
Giving all them altcoins a chance to run, do something out here
to the ground.
Make a name for yourself.
So 39% was Bitcoin, right, to the downside. So Ethereum, on the other hand, only had fell, I think, 25% worst case.
Yeah.
Right. 24, 25. So what this, once again, one of the ideas we were talking about a few weeks back was where, and, I know everybody loves just seeing, the comparison between 2017 and whatever. But anyways, I'm going to show it as an example because it is important, I think. But the time frame where we were talking about, which technically was right here, where this dump happens in Bitcoin is like 30-40%. And then the altcoins did not fall that much, right? And it was kind of like the transition between, some profits coming out of Bitcoin and then shooting over into altcoins as a whole. The only problem is that the altcoins as a whole actually really fell, and Ethereum was the only one that didn't this time around, right? So once again, just kind of a tribute to, everything is not the same by any means, but whatever. We look at that as a pattern. So yeah, Bitcoin fell 40%, Ethereum only fell 25%. So to me, that almost shows that like some of the profits out of Bitcoin came into ETH, right? Because look how quick this got bought up. I mean, Bitcoin got bought up pretty quickly too. The wick down to 42K was less than an hour.
Yeah,
I think this was like if we zoom into an hour chart, I bet this was less than an hour too, right? So ish. So maybe 4 or 5 hours. But that one all the way down here was definitely less than 1 hour.
Right.
Anyways, on the daily time frame, you got Ethereum holding this structure, right? You get this cup and handle broke out. This is the previous high, well, not necessarily the previous all-time high, but this is the resistance line right here. And we've been holding over it, right, the entire time. So you got the previous all-time high, the new all-time high right here, 48, 4,900, however you want to look at it. I think it's technically like 48.80. And essentially, yeah, we're just kind of cruising through here. Can we poke down back below if Bitcoin pulls back? For sure, right? You got we're at mercy of Bitcoin right now, no matter what, right? Nothing escapes Bitcoin's gravity. If Bitcoin pulls back, everything's pulling back. That just is what it is. So to where we've already been, definitely, a possibility. Pull back again to $3,500, $3,600. But the next target I'm looking for is pretty much $6,143 for Ethereum. Whether that's in the next couple weeks, next month, that would be my next major area for ETH. Probably get a 20% pullback out of that, which means the entire market would probably see a 20% pullback. And I would imagine it looks just like that, comes right back down, retests the previous high. And then we go upwards to that next $7,800 target that we've been looking at for quite a while. And then the $11,000 target would come in next.
So the question is, Mick, can you hold on, or can you hold on to that price point, or are you gonna just like
listen? You tell somebody you have put a game plan together, which is what we talk to our people about all the time, and you tell somebody, "Hey, I'm going to execute on a game plan," and then they bust your balls for 10 days straight. I'm just saying.
Wait a minute. Our game plan, your game plan, was selling at 100K Bitcoin, right, and like 8,000 or so Ethereum.
Yep.
Bitcoin took a small little stumble. You're like 40K bear market. I'm out.
Let me clip what Miguel said earlier. If you can't be adaptable and adapt to change and make changes, that's exactly about word for word what you said earlier.
Yes, and I was never referring to selling. I was referring to the time frame of the
only
cycle.
Adapt. Only adapt.
Let's cherry pick. Right? Let's
you cherry picked it.
I didn't cherry pick. I made a nice statement.
So you're looking at a cup and handle on ETH. It's retested a couple times. Is that still? I don't know. I don't know the technical on that. Can it retest it? Typically, will it retest multiple times? Once, twice, 3 times? Is that pretty typical, or is it really just chopping through there after that?
I mean, it's just basically broken to a new range. It's consolidating that area, and then from there it takes off, right? So I mean, it can be weeks, it could be a month, it could be whenever. So essentially, we'll probably, the thing right now is that it's very interesting to note that where everybody's focus shifts is generally we'll get a little taste of it, right? Which we always kind of see. Like right now, everybody's anticipating altcoin season, right? Right now, which could happen for sure. It's kind of a little less likely if everybody's anticipating it in the sense of that reason. But the other thing to think about is that Bitcoin's at a low, Bitcoin dominance is at a low, and Ethereum's kind of still higher. So, I mean, regardless, we'll see how it goes. Bitcoin could actually just start taking off, and then the altcoins with it. And then that would be, obviously like, best case scenario for the alts, but just kind of seeing how everything goes. But over the next few weeks, I kind of anticipate Bitcoin might, take this move, right? Like, because everyone has counted Bitcoin out at this point, right? Like for the most part, right? I think that, but you know what I mean, right? For the most of the market is very much so like Bitcoin's done, definitely not going back to anytime soon, this or that. So it'd be interesting to see. But in general, Ethereum is still my most exciting chart. And then as soon as Bitcoin kind of stabilizes, we'll see the rest of the altcoin market going. You got the small caps, right? I know somebody said XCur is dying or something.
Yeah, people are freaking out over there about XCur.
Yeah. Well, I mean, these small caps, man, they got a lot of upside potential, but they got a lot of downside potential too.
100%.
And that's the thing with any of these altcoins is that Bitcoin is the safest bet. It's not going to have the most upside at this point. It's not going to have the most downside at this point either. So the altcoins as a whole, like they have so much more upside potential, but they have so much downside potential at any given moment too. You see Bitcoin with a 40% pullback. Granted, Ethereum was a better bet for the last month so far. But generally, if Bitcoin pulls back 15%, the entire altcoin market is at 30 to 40% pullback. You know what I mean? Like normally. So in that aspect. You're risking more to get more reward.
So CVO, I got a question for you. And I'm sure Nick will like this, and a lot of people in the chat will like this too. So
XRP?
is XRP the next stable coin for the United States government? Tell me your thoughts here. What's going on?
I think that China has accepted XRP as their chosen one.
Really?
I'm just kidding.
Because I was about to say.
No, that's VeChain. That's VeChain. That's totally different stable coin that stays pretty stable at 8 cents.
I mean, that's pretty good for a communist coin. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, no kidding.
Usually those things aren't very
communistic
stable.
coins I hold. XRP is going to. I mean, let's just face it. XRP is going to go to $5 at least when it happens. I'm not calling for some crazy number. It's going to go to $5 though.
You can call for crazy numbers. It's all right.
Yeah.
The XRP army. XRP army out there, like, yeah, that's what I want to hear.
Hey, listen, I want it to go incredibly high, but I'm just telling y'all, I've had a game plan for a long time. I'm selling half my XRP at $5, and that's like a 50x for me. Well, probably not totally. It's probably more like all in, probably about a 35x, because I've had some more towards 17 cents as well. So I'm happy.
So you're going to sell only 50% of your XRP?
I sell 50% at $5. Yeah. Well, actually just under $5, but yeah.
Mm-hmm. And what are you going to do with the rest? Hold it forever, or you have another price range?
Hodl, baby, right now.
I love how you're so confident of holding on to trash coins, but you're so unconfident about actual legit assets.
Did you hear that, Paul? He just called XRP a trash coin. Dude.
Hey, I'll say that to anybody.
Hey, I'm no XRP maxi, dude. I don't care. I just
he's just in for the stats, bro. He's only in to get money to stack sats.
Pull up my screen real quick. I just shared. So XRP, man, it's funny almost, right? Because if you'd been holding XRP this entire year, you definitely underperformed against anything else pretty much, right? Like you had some burst to the upside, but most likely if you've been holding, you are literally nowhere that you weren't back in April of 2018. Max.
Damn.
Yep.
Unfortunately, right? So that's just kind of the deal. So but what's interesting to note about that is that even, all right, let's look at Litecoin, right? I know everybody kind of dogs on that one too. So, all right, we'll get to that in a second. We'll get to Litecoin, but it's not just this one that hasn't really blasted. There's been a lot, man. So it's like one of those things where if you weren't getting into some of these newer or not necessarily newer, but it's like where the focus kind of goes to, right? We kind of shifted into DeFi for a hot minute, and then you shifted into NFTs, and then you shifted into whatever. And then any of the main blue chips coin, and obviously this one's been suppressed because of the news and whatever, but at the end of the day, really not really, because there's been XLM, that's a good example. XLM, right? I mean, XLM is probably had the same kind of price action, and have they been getting sued or anything like that?
But I don't think. But Paul, let me ask you this before you jump onto XLM.
Talk to me.
Now, and I could be totally wrong about this. I would argue that looking at charts on XRP right now is garbage, unless you're just trying to make a quick flip on something. I don't think anybody.
The whole thing is garbage.
I don't think.
I was gonna say dude, looking at a chart, man, it's one of those things where what I just showed you, and I'll get back to that. First of all, look at XLM. We'll just get to this example. Okay. So XLM, no issues around it, right? Been OG in the space. I'm pretty sure they're partnered with American Express and, don't quote me, another major company like Microsoft or something like that. Literally 22 cents where it was back in November of 2018, right? So had you been holding XLM the majority of the time too, that's just one other example right there. Neo, Litecoin, Qdom, Icon, all these other crypto. I mean, there's a ton of other cryptos.
They're all stuck, dead projects.
Stuck, right? EOS, had some bursts here and there. But I guess what I wanted to show you was, what you were just kind of getting on is, right, when you're looking at the chart. Granted, we are in the middle of a huge bull run right now, possibly the end, depending on who you're asking. But if I'm looking at this chart right here, doesn't matter what time frame we're in, whatever, this is still a good looking chart that will eventually break out, right? This is a huge consolidation range right here. So it kind of goes into the idea of just like we saw over here, where it's technically the longer the base, the longer the break, right? Like that's kind of the idea with it. So even though this has been, a total nothing burger, so to speak, this will break out at some point in the near future. And then these are, whether that's 6 months from now, a year from now, whenever, and it's probably going to come at a time and a place where everybody's not going to be expecting, and anyone and everyone who'd been grabbing this up, which not that this should be your whole portfolio by any means, but if you were scooting some, FU money over here, or, picking up 30% of your portfolio or whatever, right? Something that's a long-term hold. This is not a terrible look, right? Like this is not something that's like, it definitely didn't perform during the time of the metaverse coins and the DeFi and the NFTs and this and this and this. But when this one does break, just like when XLM will break, or Litecoin, or all these other coins, they're going to break, man. They're not just going to. They've been around through the entire last bear market and this entire bull run so far. They're not just going to disappear, right? Maybe they're less risky in the short term, but this will move to the upside for sure, and it's going to probably be fast and furious when it happens.
So what would happen if they slam the hammer on XRP? The guillotine, and they cha-ching, dead in the water, right? What would happen?
What would that look like? Because you've already done that, right? You've taken it off Coinbase, you've delisted it off multiple other exchanges.
Let's say that the SEC comes out, says, "Hey, it's a security. You guys messed up. You guys are trash. What's going on? What does that look like for the chart? What does that look like for XRP?"
I don't know. I don't know this, but I don't think that I think that as part of the fine and as part of what they did, I would think that they would be responsible for buying back those tokens in some sort of way. I have to believe it, especially with that large of a company, with that many assets, like with that. I just believe it's too large to just dump on everybody and say, "Hey guys, you picked the wrong one. Sorry."
Right, rug pull,
number
right?
2.
That's nothing new in the crypto space.
Share my screen again. I'm just gonna and once again, I don't care about XRP by any means. I'm no maxi about it. I pay attention for whatever, for trading purposes. I made a good amount off of it in 2017, and I lost a good amount off of it in 2018, right? So I mean, XRP is just whatever. It's just
another
household name.
Yeah.
What I want to show you is that for literally 5 years, just about almost actually since its inception, XRP is almost the longest running altcoin known. I don't know if anybody really realizes that. I'm pretty sure they started up in 2013, whatever. They've been around. Literally, XRP and Litecoin are the two longest that I can remember.
Yeah, I think that's right.
And right now, even with everything going on, look where it's at. Number eight in the market. Like that there's just it wouldn't make sense. I mean, like it'd be done already, in my opinion. If that was really going to be the case, I think that it would be gone already. Like it would be that simple. I think that the people work. I mean, Brad Garland, how he would just give it up. And once again, this is just an example of when you said like, oh, looking at the charts could be garbage or whatever. It's just the charts. Obviously, they have to be paired with some fundamental zazz, right? Like it's a little bit of the charts, or it's a lot of both, I guess. Like at some point, you need some hype to come into it. You need some whatever. But what that chart I was just showing you with XRP is that it's about to break. Maybe it's another month from now. Maybe it's in a super consolidation range. Mm-hmm. And a month or two from now, February, January, whatever, the SEC case gets dropped, or a rumor that it gets dropped, or it gets relisted on Coinbase, or whatever the case may happen, right? Those two things will time out together. That range will complete, and then a news catalyst will list, and that'll bang.
Yeah. And then, Crypto Santa Claus just said, if the hammer falls on XRP, which I love this name, by the way, Crypto Santa Claus, I very much appreciate your name here. I like it. I love it. So just want to give you a shout out for that. But if the hammer falls on XRP, no matter what will they go after next? And I will echo that. I believe that until crypto starts getting looked at differently. And I think actually, if you watched what happened on Capitol Hill, what was that, yesterday, the day before? Yesterday. If you watched any of that, it a lot of times it's just a get together for people to talk about how bad crypto is and how people buy drugs with it and they do all these nefarious activities. Yesterday was not that. I felt like what I saw in the bits and pieces that I watched, and I didn't see a ton, but I saw chunks enough, watched probably about 30 minutes, and then, saw some little chunks here and there. I felt like I saw these I saw some of these people say that hey, you guys need to understand this better. And I saw some of the old heads, so to speak, that didn't understand it, really actually asking some legit questions, and they were responded to well. And I think we are headed towards some sort of a solution here. Some of it's going to suck. Some of it's for sure going to suck. But ultimately, when the framework is laid out, that's when we're able to have a spot Bitcoin ETF. That's when we're able to have some of these things come to fruition, because now the legacy people can have their back scratched and feel good about the fact that they're protected, that these banks want this, they're able to custody crypto. Then the ultimately the who is it that insures your FDIC? They're going to be able to do FDIC type insurance once the banks are able to.
You're saying that all of this is dependent on the XRP case?
No. I'm just saying that regulation as a whole, as it happens, there's going to be stuff that's going to suck. There's going to be stuff that's really good. And then everywhere in between is what I was getting at. Yeah.
So since I'm got the pleasure of being on Debate Crypto and we get to debate things, so since you brought that up, right? I put a post out today in my group, and I was talking about so when we were at 69K, right? Think about the things that surrounded us, right? We were looking at end of the year hype. You were looking at crypto.com getting a 20-year deal with Staples. You're looking at all the things, right? The price action was pumping. Like, that's the one thing. The price action pumping or dumping is the one sentiment booster. Doesn't matter what the news is. Like right then and there, like that's the sentiment starter. And then the news comes in for the kill. So price is pumping. Good news comes out. Everybody's really excited, thinking everything was going to go to what it was, right? So now we're in a position where we get this huge dump, and a couple things surround us, right? You got the Evergrande news that just kind of dropped, which is, to me, I put up this idea. I'm just curious to get your guys' information, your side of it. But the hearing yesterday, upwards of a week ago, that was a big worry, right? Everybody was really panicking about, December 8th and whatever. And once again, it's like one of those things where, like, if you see everybody worrying about it, it always ends up being a nothing burger, to say the least, or sometimes even positive. But anyways, we had that. We got tomorrow. We got, the new reports coming out for, inflation and a couple other things, right? Which to me, I kind of anticipate won't be that bad, or might even be, something to where like it kind of pushes the market up a little bit. But we'll see, stock market included. You also have the Fed talk on the 14th, right, where they're going to most likely announce, accelerated tapering, which they've already hinted at, right? So, and then you got the Evergrande news. So all these things have been around, right? Evergrande since September, which to me has already been priced in. The Fed, starting tapering and already mentioning accelerated tapering, which is probably going to get announced fully, and everybody's worried about that when that does get announced. While it's already been talked about and it's kind of already priced in, I think so. And then you got everything else. Like, is everything kind of priced in right now, or is all these surrounding elements something that's going to, like, you know what I'm saying? I'm trying to say that, like, the market gets pulled down and then you get all these negative things that really freak people out for a week or two while the price is low, making us think it'll go lower. Just like when the price is high, you get all the great news surrounding you, making you think it'll go higher. Like, what are your thoughts there?
Miguelito?
Yeah, so I do think that some of that stuff is priced in. Maybe we'll see a little bit lower movements after having some level of bounce back, right? Kind of how we saw in the summer. We saw a boatload of negative news article after negative news article throughout the summer, and everybody was saying, hey, we're at 28. We're going to go down to 20. Look at all this news. Look at what's happening. We're going to keep going lower. I think that is kind of happening now. And with the time frame, it makes people even more nervous. Like, oh man, it's December and we're getting all this negative news, and we're not at the prices that we thought we were going to be at. Maybe we are going to go lower. That's why Nick is thinking about selling, right? So
he will not get off of it. He will not get off of it.
So, because it's the perfect example, right? It's the perfect example of you start getting nervous and you start thinking about selling. Because of things like that. But I think it's all part. I think I agree with you a lot. It's a lot with the confusion to make people doubt themselves, and at the end of the day, steal their crypto out from under them.
And I still think that part of the metrics that are being looked at is what's the market sentiment. And part of that, we talked about this last night, and I still believe that part of market sentiment means what the heck are all these social media influencers pushing out into the cryptoverse, right? And because I think there is some fear there, and the news media has got there's these events that are coming. I think everybody is just unsure right now, and I think they're going to use that to their advantage. So I guess, in my personal opinion, I think that
Nick is very unsure.
I think that a lot of this might already be priced in, but I also could see.
What did we say? Analysis paralysis.
I could also see. Yes. But I could also see. Now, this is making the assumption that we're still in a bull market, right? I could also see one more big move to the downside, like a not huge, but like a big move, like around the number that I was talking about, just because that's how life, likes to work sometimes. Get right there to the edge. Let's make people sweat as much as possible, because it also gets as many people that are new to the game to ultimately sell. I think that they take advantage of the fact that all this stuff's going on. I really do. So I think we could see another move lower first before we head back up. I don't know.
Saying we might see a dead cat bounce, might come up a little bit and then drop lower.
I could for sure see it, no doubt. I mean, I literally think that a lot of what happens on a regular basis right now is toying with us. I
agree with that. But with your starting to smell to me like Pablo. Dead cat bounce. Just a dead cat bounce, guys.
Always a dead cat bounce. Rob said Nick needs to zoom out. Listen, guys, let me be clear to everyone in the chat, right? I am not selling. Okay, Miguel keeps making that comment because I said that I was going to sell.
I didn't say you were selling. I said you're thinking about it.
No, I know, but a lot of people didn't hear that conversation, so they keep hearing you suggest that. I just got banned from TikTok for violating community guidelines violation. So I'm trying to figure out somebody
talking bad about Bitcoin.
What'd you say? Talking about trying to sell, that's dangerous. Somebody probably just mass reported me or something stupid. At any event, whatever. TikTok's a freaking joke sometimes. But what was I kind of got sidetracked there. So yeah, for those of you that didn't know, I did say that if we drop below 40, I would have called a bear market. I don't think that it's going to happen. And so that's what Miguel's talking about. But Rob's saying that I need to zoom out. Dude, I know where we're at. I fully see it. I'm just being the honest one in the room and saying I have some doubts right now.
Bring the heat, bro. Bring the heat.
That's a good man. And honestly, like that's fine. Like that's what we do on Debate Crypto, right? We got different views here. So once again, thinking back, and like I said, I'm the first to admit, even I was wrapped up in the,
Bart said the Moon Boys reported me.
They probably did, for sure.
Miguel reported. Actually, Miguel jumped into my live while we were live on here and started reporting me. All right, go ahead. Sorry, Paul.
Okay. Yeah. So, all right. Even though, I think everybody's just kind of like holding at this point for the most part. If you're in crypto already, you're just like, I'm just holding till zero at this point.
Analysis paralysis, just like you said.
Right. So, I think that most people, somewhat are talking themselves in. They probably are really nervous, thinking that the market might not recover, right? And it's just like holding and hoping for the best. But the majority of people, man, I mean, like the fear and greed index is a great example, right? Everybody's in extreme fear. Like every single person right now, $47,000 Bitcoin is extremely fearful. And to be at a market low across the board, and once again, look at the coins I just brought to your attention. They're at the same levels, which they haven't even broke from 3.5 years ago, right? So like that's one example there. But in general, like you have every single person all across the board is panicked and whatever. And the number one reason is because of this term. And like thinking back, we all came from at least the 2017 era. Man, nobody talked about a bear market. We didn't learn about a bear market until we were in the middle of one. So everyone is so overly fearful, which you should be, because we've made them that way basically by telling them how terrible it was. But it's crazy to me how much more fear I feel like we've spent in this market than in pure joy. And the reason I raised my hand a second ago is because I was going to say, what makes $40,000 the bear market, if I may ask?
Nick, please.
I said this when I first said it. I said this just straightforward. I don't have a technical number for you. So I don't have like a chart pattern that I'm going to show you, because ultimately, let's be real, I actually could, I believe, pull that up and show you that you're making lower highs but not lower lows at that point. So I do believe that by the chart, depending on what you're looking at, daily, weekly, whatever, we are showing that. Am I correct on that? First of all, I believe so, because I did look at it.
If we went below 40,
yeah,
somewhat.
Okay, so that's the answer.
nicely saying no, it's not wrong, but I don't want to embarrass you on your own show.
Well, no, the only reason I actually say that is because obviously what constitutes a bear market in the stock market is when you see a 20% or more collapse. But
that's not the same with crypto.
Right, and that's never been fully outlined. That's the only reason I say that. Like, obviously, we know what a bear market is when looking back and you see a steady decline of like 80% or more. But that's the only reason I said that is because I'm just like, where do we draw the line, I guess, in that aspect? Because
it's a great question, and I don't even think that maybe I should word it the way that I did. Here's what I should say.
That was a good answer, though. That's not that wasn't bad. I mean, that makes sense.
So, but 40 for me was more me looking at my average entry point in ETH, which is my massive amount of my holdings. Me knowing how I do believe that we have another bear market in us, like a real deal full bear market, and me knowing how much I can capitalize on taking profits at 40K. And the downside for me, the amount of downside if 69 was the top, like assuming that maybe we have historical precedents that still stay in place. If 69 was the top, we get below 40, and then I ride that back down with the amount that I've accumulated. For me, the downside was much, much greater, much worse for me than the upside was of saying, hey, you know what, we might turn back around and I might be able to double that up. The downside for me seemed a lot more to not be able to reaccumulate at with the amount of capital that I want to.
That's short-sighted stuff, bro.
Yep, I know. Listen. I get it. I am a sinner. I am a crypto sinner for talking about taking profits. I get it, guys. I'm working on it.
It's not about taking profits, but it's about accumulating fiat, bro. That just.
I didn't say accumulating fiat. I didn't even say fiat. I told you that I was going to take it in stable coins and take them.
But they're cousins, bro. They're the same people, okay? What? They're the same people. Let's relax. It's the same thing. It's just like saying, hey, I don't hold fiat. My bank account, it's not fiat. It's just sitting there digitally. It's a digital dollar. It's the same thing, bro.
Oh, man. 69 was the top if you're on top.
I want to say
that's funny. Okay, sorry. I just grabbed that. Sorry, that was a good one. Good one, Danny. I like it. What were you saying, Miguel?
I was gonna say something, but I forgot. Whatever. I'll just bring this up. We were talking about Ethereum earlier, holding up stronger than Bitcoin. I just want to point out that Ethereum is held up by wash trading NFTs, aka trash. Bitcoin is held up by true fundamentals and sound money principles.
The gas prices are so high right now, and I think it's a double-edged sword for Ethereum. I think it's a really good thing. Somebody mentioned earlier in the chat, they brought up Matic, right? There was a meeting yesterday, I think, with Vitalik Buterin talking about Polygon Matic, right? And I think that there's an interesting thing that's happening there with ETH, where like maybe ETH continues to be what it is, and this is my mind, thinking so like a little wild here, but maybe ETH continues to be what it is, partially because of the high gas fees, right? There's so much locked up in anticipation of ETH 2.0 right now, right? The gas prices are so high that people don't want to use it. So guess what? They're sitting on it, and then they ultimately jump into Polygon Matic, which I think could absolutely pump that. I could literally see ETH utilizing Polygon Matic. Most people are not actively utilizing ETH to trade back and forth with, and they're holding because they can't afford the gas fees to utilize it the way that it's been used. I think it really could be in a backwards way a strong point of what's going on right now. Tell me I'm wrong. I don't know.
I barely understood what you told me. I can't. I don't know. I didn't get it. I don't understand.
I'm saying gas fees are so high right now that people don't want to pay the gas fees and ultimately spend their ETH on the gas fees, right?
Okay.
So ultimately what I'm saying is I think it actually could be a good thing. People are holding that ETH as opposed to utilizing it for gas fees, and they're flopping over into Polygon Matic. To what I'm saying,
like ETH on Polygon, or just Matic on its own.
I'm saying I think people are going to utilize Polygon on ETH. I think that's how it's paid now. When you're on the Polygon network, you're paying it out, or you're using gas fees. You're paying in Matic, right? In Polygon. So what I'm saying is, I could see both of those being propped up. One being propped up because it's just sitting there because people don't want to freaking spend it, and then the other one saying, "Hey, we need to move things around on the network, but we don't want to do it in ETH because it's too damn expensive." That's what I'm saying.
I guess.
Okay, I guess I listen, guys. Sometimes
I'm kind of confused. I don't know.
I don't even smoke anymore, but sometimes I still have some pothead tendency thinking, and I think that might have been one of them. It's okay. I'm fine with it. I'll be okay.
I liked it. I agree.
Yeah, I would have liked it.
Miguel's mind isn't quite large enough to retain the mass amount of knowledge that I just dropped out onto the table.
Here's your knowledge, bro. From the crowd, taking profits into a debased currency. Laugh my ass off.
And how is a stable coin debased, Garrett?
It's pegged to the dollar,
bro? Is your state, and they burn and add to the supply to stabilize? Do we need to do a lesson on stable coins, ladies and gentlemen?
I mean, why didn't the U.S. just do that and then make their dollars into a stable coin?
Well, first of all, the U.S. is a whole nother idiocracy. We'll say that.
All I'm saying is getting rid of gold to go hold some copper is not the best idea.
Until deflation kicks in.
You keep riding that train, bro, but I'm not on board. I'm not fully on board with that whole deflation
Listen, we don't need to go off into that tangent, but I'm
not saying that we're going to see hyperinflation.
I do not see how hyperinflation guarantees a breakdown of the economy, and staying where we're at doesn't help us either. So it's got to happen somewhere or another.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't have to happen somewhere. Like I've told you before, right? They can just take their foot off the pressure cooker and release some pressure with quantitative tapering, right? Whatever they want to call it, and then slow things down, but not go into deflation and not go into hyperinflation, and just kind of let things.
This is we're gonna go way off the rails here. So I don't want to spread my knowledge. So
spread your knowledge
tonight. You know what I mean?
His knowledge is, hey guys, we're at 40K. It's a bear market. Sell. And then when it hits 100K, unfollow the channel, please.
So Paul, let me ask you, what would you asked me, right? And I know we've been on for over an hour, guys. So I know we do need to wrap up here soon. But let me ask you this: I'll pose the same question that you asked me. What for you would constitute? Hey, we're in a bear market. I told you ultimately it was how I felt about where we're at and lower highs, or I mean higher. Lower lows. I'm sorry.
Lower lows.
Mm-hmm. What do you think?
So I'm glad you asked.
I'm going to give my quick answer before CVO says his elaborate, intelligent answer. My quick answer is there is never such a thing as a bear market in crypto. Bitcoin is in a perma bull market. So I'm not worried.
A perma bull.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. All right. Flip me to the screen. Danny, you caught me. So, all right, this would be. So I'm gonna bring up my boy blockchain backer, right? So he's called the bear market, and his idea is that 69K is the top, and we're gonna basically let me clean this up a little bit so it's not so ugly, right? So. And then we're gonna basically bounce up, a little dead cat bounce is what that's known as, right? Where you see a relief rally, basically. Everybody's going to get all bullish and excited again. And we're not going to break that all-time high. And once again, this is not my idea. This is a blockchain backers theory, right? That he's been putting out.
And do you generally like what he puts out there? I don't know. I've listened to him some, but
I've got nothing. I mean, I think he's got a case to make. I've kind of back tested some of the things he's put out there, and you know, I don't necessarily agree with a lot of them, you know, but whatever. So I don't really watch him that much, but I've watched it recently because everybody asked what I thought of what he said with this. But anyways, this is where he's got with this. And he's had this theory and this thesis for years. So that's one thing against most people, right? Is that he's got, you know, a track record of stating this theory for years at this point. So for the moment, it's going to hold a lot of ground, right? So until we get back above this level, but this is his idea, right? We come down, we come up to this 702 level, which is about 61K. And then theoretically, that's where we, you know, do not make a new higher high, right? Don't come in any higher than 69. And that's essentially where you'd start this bear market, right? And that's pretty much the structure you would see, right? You make a higher high, you then make a lower high, and then you basically take down, you know, for quite a while, right? A perfect example of that is obviously what we saw back here in the, you know, in this little region. And once again, you know, his reasoning goes off this. This is the high back in the day. That was our low right here. And as you see, we had this little dead cat bounce, so to speak, right to that same level, 702, right? So that's where he's getting, this is a normal structure in general, not just that it happened right there at this high. You could literally do this on any high to low, you know, structure here. My losing the, you know, going into a bear market idea would be essentially that same idea. These lines you see here, you got this blue, you got a red, and you got a gray, white, whatever this is. I'm colorblind, so I can't tell which one it is. But anyways, you got the 21. These are EMAs, these red and the blue. And then this one is these white and yellow are the simple moving averages. So these are exponential moving averages, simple moving averages. This is the weekly coming at, right? This is where the bottom of the market, like once again, weekly time frame. This is a massive amount of data right here, right? So for me, we would have to essentially right now come up to that level of where he's talking about, that 61K, and then come down, and we'd have to lose all these three, right? Just like we have done.
That would be a dump.
But that's essentially where you kind of have it at, though, too, because right now these three all correlate to just that area. So I mean, you know, technically he wouldn't be wrong if that's what goes down.
About 40K.
Yeah, that's right now the bottom one's at 43. So if we were to see a run up to 61,000 and a drop down below, and like a weekly candle full body close below these EMAs, that would
weekly candle, Nick. Don't get excited. It's a weekly candle.
Hey, has anybody seen the TikTok guy Cobby Lane?
Yes,
I think
everyone has seen that guy. Everyone has seen that guy.
So that would be one good reason. And then, realistically, you'd want to lose that low over there of about 40. But I just wanted to hear your perspective on that, too. Just
make sure you don't sell on the wick, Nick, because you might be calling that wick, and you're like, I'm under 40.
Hey, you know, one of the best comments of the evening right here has been, as far as I'm concerned, Rob just had it, the 20-year chart. It's a green candle.
Damn right. That guy knows what's up.
Listen, obviously, I know, you know, Rob, you're being funny, but the reality is that's not wrong. And so Miguel and I talk about this a lot, and I know we bust each other's balls and go back and forth and whatever. The reality is this. We all three people on this panel are bullish for crypto long term, right? We might talk about short term price, you know, potentials, price swings, where we'd buy, sell, where we're indifferent. We agree, we disagree. But when it all comes to a head, or where we all do agree, is that if Paul wasn't trying to actively trade, if Miguel wasn't trying to get on his knees for Bitcoin, if ultimately I wasn't so scared and had paper hands, right? But where we can all agree is that long term crypto is changing and actively is changing where we're at, and long term it's going to win. And so I guess I want to finish with Paul. I know you don't love doing like the long term, but somebody asked me recently, they were like, just as an idea, when do you think Bitcoin's going to hit? So let's end on a bullish scenario. When do you think Bitcoin is going to, let's go way past 100. When do you think Bitcoin is going to hit $1 million? Because I believe that it will. right? I believe that we're going to have a 50, 60, $70 trillion market in crypto. I believe that this is the future. It's going to gobble up the entire stock market. So long term, guys, be clear. We believe in these markets and believe that accumulation over the long term is the answer. What do you guys think? What are your thoughts? Miguel, you think in 6 months it's going to be at $1 million? What do you think, Paul?
No, so I don't think 6 months, but I think by 2030 we'll be at $1 million. And I just want to point out that you're saying that you believe we're going to $1 million or 50 trillion, and yet you're willing to sell it. You're willing to sell it for the short term of taking grabbing some fiat. 30 money.
Yeah, you
money
can double the amount of $1 million
money
Bitcoins
with
you
that
have, though,
C
then
word
you're good to go.
Fiat stable coins. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I would say on the high side, yeah, like 2030. But I in not to get into it in this
on the high side.
Yeah,
I mean, there's a shorter time frame.
Tell me more.
I'm just trying to make my point towards Nick. There's even a shorter time frame for $1 million, and you're willing to sell, my friend.
Oh gosh, yeah. Well, I mean, this goes into a whole. We'll have to see how the stock market and the housing markets all go. But I have a totally different viewpoint on those two. That they will, still see at least another 6-7 years, and if not the stock market till the end of this decade.
That would be
so crazy. That would put Bitcoin throughout at least another cycle. Before things really hit the fan and I think that next cycle we'll see $1 million for sure. So I mean that's anywhere between depending on if we're going into a lengthening cycle, so to speak, this time you're talking 2025, 2027, that range. So
Crypto fam, listen, the facts are, and a few people have talked about it tonight, all three of us have talked about it, these large institutions and these whales are accumulating, right? We can look at the on-chain metrics of that, and we know that long-term, the prices are going up. So as long as you have that game plan in place for what works for you, that's ultimately what needs to happen, because everyone has different game plans. Everyone has different scenarios that make sense for them and their family, right? And so ultimately, you've got to do what works for you. That being said, we believe we are going higher over the long term. Everybody wins.
Before we close out, I just want to say, Crypto Santa Claus, I feel betrayed. I feel betrayed.
On Christmas month.
Man. Hey, listen, you guys got coal in your stocking.
Dude, we'll never hit $1 million. We applauded your name. We pointed you out. So we loved your name.
I know.
It's December. Christmas is coming.
My God.
You come out here saying Bitcoin will
Crypto
never hit $1 million.
Grinch. You need to change your name to Crypto Grinch.
Yeah, man. Come on.
Man, I'm telling you. Crypto fam, listen, we appreciate each and every one of you for being here. Paul, as always, bro, thank you for coming on. We appreciate you every Thursday, TA Thursday, guys. Just as a reminder, December 23rd, make sure you're subscribed, right? Do that tonight. Then you can get it out of the way. You can get educated, and you can hear Miguel and I banter back and forth while we're at it. We're giving away $500 on December 23rd. That's 2 days before Christmas. All you got to do is be subscribed. Make sure you guys listen. If you guys, I'm sure the majority of you in here are probably already subscribed to Paul, to CVO Crypto. But if you're not, all of his info is down below in the information. So make sure that you guys give him a follow. He's got great information. He's got the CVO Elite, which has some freaking fantastic TA stuff, guys. So ultimately, on a daily basis, I'm telling you, I've never seen so much information and so many charts put out in a place to where literally I could go through on any given day and pick out different trades or setups for trades that are working. And you know what? Miguel actually made a really nice trade off of what CVO had said a little while ago on, I think it was lossless, and he's done really well on it. And so we do know that what the man's saying works. That's why we've got him on here. So
yeah, and thank you, CVO, for coming on and allowing Nick to finally sleep, because his grays are coming in with all the panic that's happening. And he's like, "Oh my God!"
I know. But Crypto fam, we love you guys.
Always a pleasure.
We hope to see you guys soon. Until next time, HODL like it's hot.
It's hot.
We'll see you soon.